The man was just trying to take a sip of water on the flight when he noticed his fingernails turning black at an alarming speed. As a doctor, he immediately realized this was a sign of severe hypoxia, a lack of oxygen in the heart and lungs. Before he could come up with a response, the plastic bottle in his hand started to twist and deform. The water glass on the tray table began to shake violently. A nearby flight attendant noticed something was off. She quickly rushed to her seat, buckled up, and urged the passengers to do the same. The very next second, the plane flew straight into a turbulent air current. The water in the glass began to float into the air, and the passengers who hadn't fastened their seatbelts were suddenly thrown upward by the violent drop in cabin pressure. Within moments, the entire cabin was shaking like crazy. Everyone was too terrified to speak. All they could do was grip their armrests as tightly as possible. The captain also realized how serious things had become. He quickly secured his oxygen mask, and the overhead compartments released oxygen masks for the passengers. People scrambled to put them on and breathe, but Jack's wife didn't make it in time. She lost consciousness before she could start breathing from the mask. What no one realized was that a young girl was still in the restroom during all this. The turbulence was so intense, she couldn't even open the door. Eventually, she passed out from lack of oxygen. Jack, determined to save his wife, stumbled toward the flight attendant's area, managed to find a bottle of emergency oxygen, and got the mask over her face. Thankfully, she began to regain consciousness. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the pressure inside the cabin normalized. Flight 7500 had made it through the storm. To calm the passengers, the captain immediately made an announcement, explaining that the plane had hit a windstorm while flying through turbulence, causing a seal to rupture and depressurize the cabin. Emergency measures had been taken, and they would now lower altitude to stabilize air pressure. There was no need for panic. At last, people began to relax. Shortly after, a flight attendant discovered the girl who had passed out in the restroom. She rushed to help, administered oxygen, and to everyone's relief, the girl woke up like a miracle. Just when it seemed like the worst was over, strange things started happening on the flight. It began with Nick, who suddenly couldn't breathe. Panicked, flight attendant Lisa called over the intercom, asking if any doctors were on board. Jack came right away, but Nick's condition rapidly worsened. He started clawing at his own mouth. Before anyone could react, he vomited a mouthful of blood and began convulsing violently, like something out of a horror movie. Moments later, he went completely still. Once they laid him on the floor, Jack realized Nick's heart had stopped. The captain immediately contacted the ground tower, requesting confirmation on the deceased passenger, but since landing was still an hour away, the crew had to move the body to the upper business class cabin and covered it with a blanket. No one expected what would happen next. Tom, who had helped move Nick, had noticed the luxury gold watch on Nick's wrist. Seeing a chance, he sneaked back upstairs and quietly slipped the watch off the corpse's arm. But instead of leaving, he pulled out his phone and began recording a video, bragging and showing off the stolen watch to the camera. That's when Nick's head suddenly turned toward him. A second later, Nick stood up. Tom let out a blood-curdling scream. At the same time, weird things started happening elsewhere. A flight attendant looked out the window and was stunned to see a fighter jet